So how exactly do we cut? How do we get leaner? How do we get shredded? Okay, very simple process. It's literally the reverse of how we bulk. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so we got to figure out what you're currently doing right now, right? Because how we start this process is going to be very situation dependent. For example, if you're coming off the back end of a bulk, right? So your calories are quite high. They're probably the highest they've ever been. You've been pushing a lot of food. Let's just say you followed the process of how to bulk in the previous video, where we look to gain at least 30 pounds within the next 6 to 7 months. So you've done your push phase, 6 to 7 months, peak off season. Calories are probably sitting around 3,500 to around 5,500. Again, it's going to be very person dependent, but calories are very high. What do we do in this situation? How do we transition into a cut? So all you really need to do is just drop your calories. That's it, just drop your food. By how much? 500. 500 is a good place to start in regards to dropping our calories, okay? You don't need to drop any more than 500 to start your cut. So 500 calories, simply just drop your calories there. That's it, done. You should start seeing a little weight loss. So it won't particularly be fat. Yeah, some of it's going to be fat. But for like the first 4 to 6 weeks, it's mostly going to be water. In terms of rate of loss, right? So the amount of weight we need to lose every single week, I look to drop at least 2 pounds of body weight every single week. And again, I keep saying this, but it is going to be very person dependent, right? If you're quite obese, if you push too far in your bulk, if you've dirty bulked and you're sitting at around 30% body fat, then you can afford to lose a lot more weight on a weekly basis in the beginning of your cut. You might drop 2 to 3 pounds. You might drop 3 to 4 pounds for the first couple of weeks within your cut. And you're not going to see any significant strength loss as well, because you're pretty much just dropping water. You're not really dropping fat. So pretty much on average, you should be dropping at least 2 pounds of total body weight every single week. Okay, so if you do the math, that's around 8 pounds every single month. But again, that weight loss is going to stall. Okay, so expect the weight loss to be quite high in the beginning of your cut, let's say the first 4 weeks. And then afterwards, we should start seeing a 1 to 1.5 pound of total weight loss every single week. So that's pretty much it in regards to rates of loss. Okay, 1.5 to 2 pounds of total body weight on average every single week. And you're literally just going to keep on dropping. So to make sure that you're actually dropping 1 to 2 pounds of body weight every single week, you need to make sure you're weighing yourself every single day. Okay, now this is quite anal, this is quite meticulous and overly autistic, but this is the only way you're going to be able to calculate the average. By weighing yourself every single day, you're going to be able to calculate the average of what you weighed for that week. So the average is basically your body weight Monday straight through to Sunday, added up, divided by 7. That is the average that you weighed for that week. You do the same for week 2, and you see the discrepancy between week 1 and week 2 in regards to the average, right? There should be at least a 1 to 2 pound difference in between each averages. That is going to help you dictate whether you've actually made progress from week to week, right? Because you have an accurate depiction of what you weighed for that week. Because you've got to understand, our body weight is going to fluctuate throughout this process, right? Especially if you don't have your life together, or you're not ticking the boxes as meticulously as you can. You can have an argument with your missus the night before and put on 2 pounds overnight. Not because you cheated on your diet, but because you're simply stressed out. That is how much your body can fluctuate. So you're 2 pounds up. You think you're gaining weight. So you make drastic changes to your diet or your cardio. But that day was the only day where there was a crazy fluctuation, right? Because of stress. All the other days, your body weight was consistent. It was only on this day where you woke up stressed out that you happened to be 2 pounds up. But because you didn't weigh yourself on those previous days, on those other days, you wouldn't know that. So you're going to make changes that you don't need to make. Okay, so this is why it's so important for you to weigh yourself every single morning. Again, it's going to help you practice discipline. Just be disciplined. First thing you do, as soon as you wake up, you go into the bathroom, weigh yourself. How much do I weigh in pounds? Just stand on the scale, put it into the table. Check how much you weigh every single week. I'm going to link a Google sheet down below. So it's a check-in tracker that I use for my clients. You put in your weight every single day. So you have the days there. And you put in your weight. It's going to calculate the average of what you weighed for that week on the left-hand side. Okay, so you can just keep an accurate depiction of what you weigh every single week. I'm going to create a Loom video as well, explaining the whole process, how to use the Google Sheet and how to actually make a copy of the Google Sheet as well. Because you need to make a copy for yourself. You can't use the original copy, right? Because everybody needs to use this Google Sheet. So I'll show you how to do that via a Loom video that I'll link below. There'll also be some other tables that I leave there as well for you to help you track everything that you need to in regards to this cut and this bulking process as well. You can use it for bulking. We're going to hit a plateau. There's going to come a point where we just stop dropping weight. There might be 2 to 3 weeks where we haven't dropped any weight at all. Okay, and what's going to determine whether you make any changes in regards to your diet or your cardio is going to be dependent on your physique. Because we can stall, we can stop dropping body weight. But fat loss isn't just about the scale. Believe it or not, it's about what you look like as well. Within those 2 to 3 weeks where your body weight has not dropped, how has your physique changed? Has your physique changed? Does it look leaner? Are you leaner in certain areas? Right, this is very important. This is why you need to make sure you're doing check-ins. If you're not doing check-ins with a coach, do check-ins with yourself. Do your check-in once a week, 3 times a week. Do a check-in every day, first thing in the morning if you want to. Okay, you need to see how your physique is looking. And make sure you take your check-ins in the same spot every single time. Make sure you have some natural light coming in and you're not manipulating how your physique looks with downlighting and lying to yourself, right? Because you need to be realistic. You need to be completely objective here. We need to see if you're actually losing weight and dropping body fat. So take your physique pictures, take your check-ins in the same spot, same time, first thing in the morning, fasted on an empty stomach. It's very important you take your physique pictures first thing in the morning before you eat. And it's very important you weigh yourself first thing in the morning before you eat as well. So everything needs to be done fasted. That is you at your basic state without spiking your insulin via eating. Okay, so make sure you take your physique pictures first thing in the morning and weigh yourself first thing in the morning as well. So if your weight is stalled and your physique hasn't changed for the last 2 to 3 weeks, then it's probably time for you to drop your food. Okay, so obviously our first drop was around 500 calories. Simply just drop your calories again. An extra 200 calories. Drop your calories. And you mainly want to pull these calories from your carbohydrates. Okay, carbohydrates or your fats. You pretty much want to keep protein very high, right? Because we want to maintain muscle mass, especially if you're a natural athlete. So when it comes to cardio, again, it's very person dependent. Some people don't need to do cardio, but the majority of us, I do think we need to do cardio, especially if you're trying to get like super lean, like super shredded. Especially if you're trying to get on stage as well, you're going to have to do cardio, more than likely. Okay, and when it comes to cardio, like I said, you don't need to do much. Again, it's a tool. If you're transitioning from the peak of the off season, there is no point in throwing in a bunch of cardio. This is one mistake that a lot of people do. They tend to throw in way too much cardio. They'll start on 30 to 40 minutes of cardio. It's just not sustainable because eventually that's going to stop working. Then you need to move up. You only need to do more to continue making progress. And if you're doing that much cardio within 4 weeks of your cut, what are you going to have to do within 8, 12, 16 weeks? Right? So we do want to pace ourselves. You don't need to do much to make a solid change, especially if you've been meticulous. Okay, so this is why it's so important to make sure you're ticking the boxes and you're staying quite accurate when it comes to your off season as well. So when you transition into this cutting phase, you only need to make minute changes to elicit some response. So you only need to start your cardio at 20 minutes. Okay, 20 minutes incline walking on the treadmill. You don't need to do any more than that. We want to mitigate as much fatigue as possible. You don't need to be going on a stepper. You don't need to be doing all of this high intensity HIIT training to lose this fat. Of course, these are tools as well that we can use in the latter part of this cutting phase. But again, you don't need to do too much. 20 minutes incline walking on the treadmill, first thing in the morning, fasted. If you can do it fasted, great. If you can't do it fasted, it's not the end of the world. You can do it after your workout, post-workout. I'll be honest, I'm not too clued up in the literature in regards to how fasted cardio or doing your cardio post-workout influences your fat loss. There's a lot of people that say that fasted cardio actually results in more fat loss, and doing your cardio post-workout doesn't result in as much fat loss because you've been eating throughout the day, you already spiked your insulin, you're less likely to grab onto those fat stores that you're holding around your body to use as fuel to get that cardio done. But in my direct experience, especially with clients as well, I've always found that we've always lost more fat from doing cardio first thing in the morning, fasted. And again, it just think about it like this. You've been sleeping for what, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. You're in a very catabolic state. You haven't eaten anything. Blood sugar is low. You need carbohydrates. You need to eat, right? Instead of that, you go on the treadmill. You're doing cardio. You're expending energy. You need energy to get this work done. Because you haven't eaten for so long, it only makes sense for your body to utilize the energy that is stored here, this shit here around your waist, your lower back, your chest, your fat. You're only better going to be able to use these fat stores as an energy source to get this work done. That's just my thinking. Don't quote me. Check out the research for yourself, right? But empirically, this is what I've experienced with my clients as well. We always lose more fat first thing in the morning when we do our cardio fasted. And again, it just sets you up. It just sets your day up as well. You know, mentally, it just feels good to attack the day with something hard, because we're not always going to feel motivated to do the things we need to do, especially when it comes to cutting. But there's going to be some days where we're like, fuck this. Fuck this. You'll get so hungry sometimes you can't even sleep. The last thing you want to do when you wake up is go and fucking do an hour of cardio. You want to go straight to that fridge and cook up some food. You know, so the fact that you ignore how you feel in that moment and you tick that box, you complete it, there is no better feeling. It just sets up your day. And again, the ANCC gets bigger. That part of our brain that grows when we do things we don't want to do. We're exercising our willpower. So that's more of a reason why you should do your cardio fasted if you can. Again, all of our lives are different, so not all of us can do cardio first thing in the morning. But I used to have clients at fucking 5 a.m. I still had to prep, do my cardio first thing in the morning. I was getting up at 3:30 to do my cardio. You know, so there is no excuse, especially if you have a 24-hour gym that's close to you, or you have a gym in your apartment complex. But each to their own. You can do your cardio fasted or first thing in the morning. 20 minutes of cardio and a calorie deficit of 500. That's all you need to start your cut with. You're going to see results. You don't need to change anything. Training stays the same. Those two factors stay the same. Don't change anything until you see some serious stalling in regards to your body fat dropping and your weight dropping. So these are pretty much the two main tools you're going to use to drop body fat: cardio and a calorie deficit via food. Of course, when it comes to assisted athletes, we have all of these fat burners that are going to constitute to fat loss as well. There are steps as well that we can be doing. A lot of people tend to track their steps and increase their steps to create a bigger deficit. I personally don't track steps. I do track steps, like I know how many steps I get every single day, but I'm not going to use that as a tool to burn more fat. Like I'd just rather do more cardio. Okay, so we have all of these tools to our disposal. And coaches, bodybuilders, everybody uses these tools differently to get to the same result. So the more you do this, you're going to have your preference as to how you want to get lean. You might prefer to do more cardio to elicit that deficit and to get lean. You might prefer eating less food and not doing as much cardio to get lean. It's all person dependent. Me personally, I lean more towards more cardio compared to dropping my food a whole lot. But for the most part, I gotta do both. When I need to get super lean, I just gotta do both. In the beginning phases of your cut, you can kind of maneuver between doing more cardio or eating less food, and just kind of just oscillate between the two factors, just manipulating them both to satisfy your needs. But eventually, you're just gonna have to bite the bullet. Food's gonna be ridiculously low, and cardio is gonna be ridiculously high if you really want to get shredded. You know, but for the most part, for most of you who just want to get leaner, you don't need to go super extreme to get this shit done. Your cardio will probably not need to go higher than 45 minutes to an hour every single day. But again, it depends. Like I said, it all depends. It all depends on the person. right, and how they respond. So when it comes to increasing cardio, you don't need a drastic increase. A lot of people tend to increase their cardio by 10, 15 minutes. Or they'll just throw in an hour of cardio post-workout. They're already doing like 30 minutes first thing in the morning because they start panicking. You only need to increase your cardio by 5 minutes. We want to get the most out of the least. That's all we want to do. If you're on point with getting your meals in every single day, weighing your food to the absolute T, managing your stress, maximizing your sleep, all the things you need to be doing on a daily basis, then a simple increase in cardio by 5 minutes will elicit a response. You will start dropping fat because that's the only variable you've changed because everything has been the same. So if you haven't been super meticulous with ticking the boxes, then it's going to be difficult for you to see results. Making these changes to your cardio, to your training, to your diet, they're not really going to stick because your body's up and down. It doesn't know whether it's coming or going. There is no consistency. So you need to start being consistent first. So if you have trouble with adherence, you need to first focus on eating the same meals, the same amounts, weighing your food to an absolute T every single day. Do that for the next 1 to 2 weeks. Don't even think about cardio yet. Do that for the first 1 to 2 weeks. Then start implementing cardio, throwing that 20 minutes of cardio every single day. How often should you do your cardio? Again, very person dependent. And remember, cardio is a tool. Okay? So you don't want to be doing too much to begin with. In terms of the amounts, I said that 20 minutes is enough to get started. Should you do that every single day? You can. You can do your cardio every single day. Or you can do it on your training days only. Right? So if you're training 5 days a week, you do your cardio only on your training days. So that's only 5 out of the 7 days throughout the week you're doing your cardio. And that will elicit a response. You will start dropping body fat because you haven't been doing cardio before. You literally just transitioned from an off season. Now you're doing cardio 5 times a week. You're going to start seeing fat loss results because it's a new variable. So I'd recommend doing your cardio only on your training days, right? You can start doing your cardio every single day. You might get faster results quicker. So that's why I'm saying it's very person dependent. If you're 12 weeks out for a show, then you probably need to get started with cardio every single day. You probably need to speed things up. But if you're looking to cut over a longer period of time, 16, 20, 24 weeks, then you don't need to be doing cardio every single day. You can literally just get started with cardio on your training days and still see results. But again, it's up to you. I'm trying to get you to understand that it's a tool. It's a tool, right? And by just using that tool a little bit will elicit results. And then you incrementally increase the amount of times you use that tool and the intensity at which you use that tool. So you're pacing yourself. So at the bare minimum, 20 minutes of cardio on your training days is enough to elicit a result. The next stage, if you're not seeing results, is to do cardio every single day. That's an extra 2 days that you're doing cardio, right? That's an extra 40 minutes of cardio you're doing throughout the week. So you're going to see results. So you haven't even increased the duration of your cardio. You've literally just added in cardio on your rest days as well. So now you're doing cardio every single day. You're doing cardio 2 days, an extra 2 days throughout the week, which will elicit a response, right? Once that stops working, so you've been doing that for 2 weeks, right? You've dropped body fat, you've been doing that for 2 weeks, you start stalling again, now you can throw in 25 minutes of cardio, right? We can increase the duration. And you can do this without even dropping your food, right? So you can literally transition from your off season by starting cardio. You don't even have to touch your food yet. You can still keep eating if you want. Throw in 20 minutes of cardio on your training days, you start dropping body fat. Do you see what I'm saying? So these are tools that we're using, and you can use these tools in any way you want to get a response, so long as you're meticulous, right? The intensity that you use these tools at is dependent on how fast you want results and your actual goal, right? If you're trying to get lean as soon as possible, then by all means, throw in cardio every single day and drop your calories first thing, right? Go with a 500 calorie deficit, start with 20 minutes of cardio fasted every single morning. You're going to start seeing faster results. If you want a slower pace and you want a more sustainable pace and you're not tired of eating, keep your food the same. Cardio, 20 minutes fasted on your training days. You're going to start seeing results. Or just drop your calories and no cardio. drop your calories by 500, no cardio, you start seeing results. You see, so these are all tools. It's really dependent on you and how you use these tools. So when it comes to training, training does not change. A lot of people tend to change their training up. They think, I need to get leaner. I need to do more work in the gym. Right? I need to do more sets. I need to add more volume. I need to train every single day. All we're focused on doing when it comes to dropping body fat is dropping body fat. We're not focused on building muscle. We want to preserve as much muscle mass as possible, especially if you're a natural lifter. So what got you the muscle is what is going to keep the muscle. So your training should not change. Even then, you'll more than likely still be building muscle in the first couple of weeks of your cut, right? Because how long have you been pushing for? Those calories just don't go away, right? You still got energy. You've got energy stored on you, right? If you're still progressing your lifts and you're meticulous in that fashion, you should still be building muscle, even though you've transitioned into a cut. Okay, so your training doesn't need to change. If anything, you should be training as if you're trying to build muscle. Everything should still stay the same. You should still be trying to progress your lifts. That is going to help you preserve the muscle and hopefully build some tissue as well. If you're currently having off meals as well, so off meals basically when you just eat out. You have a meal that's kind of off plan, eat whatever you want. Just throughout the off meals, there is no time for this. There is no time to eat out. There is only a strict plan. There is only hell. There is only prison when it comes to cutting. Nothing else exists. Throughout the off meals, eating out, that's done. That's over. Unless your coach prescribes it, right? If you have a coach and he prescribes it, you can have the off meal once a week, then by all means do that. But me personally, when it comes to cutting, once it's time to get lean, that's it. Done. I'm not going to eat out anymore. That's it. Done. That's it. It's time to work. That's it. So fuck off the off meals. Just get to work with your plan. When it comes to your diet, you should be prioritizing the majority of your carbohydrates around your training. So the peri-workout window is essentially pre, intra, and post. So before the workout, during your workout, and after your workout. The majority of your carbohydrates should be there, especially in the latter part of the cut, where you're fucked, right? Where you're super tired. You need the energy to be around that window for you to train harder. Okay, because when we have no energy, when we're low in energy, it's a lot harder for us to train, right? We need to train hard to maintain the muscle. If we have no energy, we're not going to give 100% to our sessions. We're not going to give 100% to our cardio as well. And we're going to be moving a lot less. So when we're moving a lot less, we're going to be burning less calories. The body naturally does this to preserve as much energy as possible, right? Because it knows what's happening. You're slowly killing yourself. It's slowly shutting down. So you're pretty much in a state of chronic preparedness all the time. Fight or flight. You're preserving as much energy as possible. So you need to make sure you strategically position your carbohydrates around the training workout window where you will have the most amount of energy to get that work done. So essentially, you're literally just going to keep chipping away. Keep chipping away, keep the training going, keep eating the meals, keep doing your check-ins, see how your physique is looking, pay attention to your energy levels, focus on ticking the boxes every single day to the best of your ability. In regards to diet breaks, right? So a diet break is literally when you take a break from your diet. So a lot of people have their protocols when it comes to diet breaks. You might take a week off, up carbs here, do this and that. What I found worked with me and my clients, especially when I worked with James 2 years ago, right? And this is where intuition plays a big role. And intuition is just feeling your body, right? Being present within your body. Because your body is going to tell you what it needs. There are certain times of bodybuilding where you need to go against what your body wants right now to get a certain result. But when it comes to getting leaner and achieving a certain look, you need to be in touch with your body, right? So what I'd recommend you do, because there's going to be a certain part of your cut where you're just fucked. You are just fucked. Your body stops responding. Like you stop dropping weight, you stop dropping body fat. You can't even push in the gym anymore, right? And you do need to reach that level. You do need to reach a level of flatness, of extreme fatigue to get to certain levels of conditioning. if you're doing a contest prep, right? But if you're just trying to get leaner in general, you're just trying to get abs, you are going to reach a similar point where you're just fucked, right? You're flat, you have no energy or strength in the gym. Now might be a good time for a diet break. At this point in the prep, me and James, we were just speaking every single day. Woke up first thing, how do you feel? Most days I felt like I got hit by a fucking truck. But some days I felt like I got hit by fucking Superman, bruv. Yeah? So on those days, right, especially when my body wasn't responding, we literally fuck off cardio, fuck off training for that day. Chill. Get a couple steps in later on in the day, but chill. Genuinely listen to your body. So on that day, that first day off, we wouldn't train. We wouldn't do any sort of cardio. I'd wake up, have my meals as normal, focus on resting. So I'd focus on just getting naps in between my meals. I'd get a couple steps in the evening. Because the body is stressed. The body accumulates a lot of stress when you're going through this process. You don't even fucking realize it, right? And you need to go through a certain level of stress to get to your physique goals in regards to getting leaner. But sometimes it can be very counterproductive where you just stop responding. And at this point, not training and not doing cardio actually facilitated me to recover and start dropping weight again, right? The body started to respond because I rested. Because as you're getting fatigued throughout this process, you find it hard to sleep. Your sleep quality actually decreases. So you're not recovering at the rate that you should be. And in turn, you're going to stop dropping body fat. You're going to hit plateaus. So sometimes training harder and doing more cardio isn't what you need to do. Sometimes you need to just fucking rest. Right? So that's what I did for like the next 2 days. All I did was rest, eat my meals and rest. On the second day, we actually increased my carbohydrates a little bit. So it was a little bit of a refeed. So I didn't just refeed with takeaways. We ate pretty much the same meals, right? So I had more oats, more potatoes, just increased my carbohydrates by like 500, right? So that definitely helped with the recovery process. Spiked my insulin a little bit, filled out a little bit more. It allowed me to sleep, right? Woke up 2 days later, I was lighter. I was 3 pounds lighter, right? So that's how we got the body to respond. Because when you're cutting and going through this process, so by having these refeeds and these off days, brings you back into your body to actually be aware of the recovery that you need to sustain the entire journey, right? So again, when you're going to need this to happen is very situation and person dependent, because sometimes we can conflate needing a refeed and needing a couple of days off with just being a bitch, right? Things get a little bit hard. Oh, I need a refeed. Oh, I need to rest. You know, so the more you do this, the more you practice cutting, the longer you bodybuild, you're going to be able to discern between the two. If you've been cutting, maybe upload your recent check-ins. Let me know your current situation, and I'll be able to help you in regards to discerning whether you need a refeed, you need a day off, or you're just being a bitch. Because I've been there as well, where you're contemplating whether you need to pull back a little bit. You need to take 2 steps back to take 4 steps forward, or if you're just being a bitch. Because in the latter part of a cut, when you're not eating as much food, your brain is all over the place, right? It's hard to make decisions. You need a second eye. You can be very self-deceptive. So it's very important to have a second eye to kind of help you discern and dispense with everything that's going on. When it comes to being enhanced and cutting, the principles are pretty much the same, but obviously we have a lot more tools at our disposal. So I'll probably talk about that in the enhanced course. But for now, this is pretty much everything you need in regards to cutting. It's very simple. The food stayed the same from your off season to prep to cutting. Food stayed the same. It's just the amounts that are going to change. So I'll break down pretty much everything that you need to know. Just to reiterate this video, where are you currently starting at? If you're transitioning from a bulk, you can either drop your calories by 500 or you can implement cardio on your training days for 20 minutes, incline walking on a treadmill. If you happen not to be starting from an off season, right, and you just want to start cutting, and you're not even tracking your food or you don't have a diet in place, you need to get very meticulous with that first. Remember, a quick formula to understand your maintenance calories is simply your body weight now in pounds times 15. That's what you need to currently be eating. Consume that for the next 2 weeks and then drop your calories by 300. Okay, so you need to get very meticulous with sticking to a diet first. But for now, number one, in regards to starting your cut, you either drop your calories by 500 or implement 20 minutes of fasted cardio, incline walking on the treadmill on your training days. Okay, or if you can't do it fasted, do it post-workout. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Number two, in regards to continually seeing progress, you're either going to transition your cardio to every single day. So instead of only doing it on your training days, you do your cardio every single day, or you simply just increase your deficit, your calorie deficit from your food. Okay, so from 500 calorie deficit, increase that to 700. So you add an extra 200 calorie deficit there and see how that goes. Don't trust your mind, right? Because we all got fucking body dysmorphia. You're going to think you're fatter than you actually are. Get a second eye. Get a coach. Get a second eye. Make sure they're keeping an eye on you. Send your check-ins to them as well. Because you're going to think, like I said, that you're not as lean as you actually are. There's been a lot of times post-prep, right, or post-cut, where I've looked back at pictures and I've been like, fucking hell, bruv. You was shredded. And at the time, I thought I was fat, right? It's this fucking thing between our ears right here. You can't listen to it sometimes. So it's very important that you get a second eye. If you're privileged to have a second eye, to look at your physique, to ask questions, to conversate with, then please do. But I think that's it in regards to this video. It's not that hard. Cutting is just a very gradual process. You just got to commit. Commitment is number one. So those mindsets that we spoke about in the beginning of this course are very fundamental, and it's what will sustain you throughout this entire journey. Remember, if you have any questions, drop them in the community. I'm here. This is what we're here for. This is why you're here. Use me. Ask me anything you need, any help you need. I know, because when it comes to cutting, there's a lot more nuance to it. Okay, so ask any questions you need, and I'll see you in the next video.